Welcome to He Did This to Me, the sports podcast from a father and son who happen to be mostly optimistic Knicks, Jets, and Mets fans. My name is Nick, a.k.a. Goody, and with me is my old man, a.k.a. the big guy, Noel. And just like his name, all we do is win. Let's get to the show. It's time to begin. Got to start with a little bit of Knicks. Lots of chatter about the Knicks off season and what they're going to do. They say Thibs is going to be getting extended, which everybody who has a brain believes that he should be. And I don't want to talk about this all off season, but I got to bring it up now just because it's been the chatter quite a bit. They talked about it today on First Take even. Everyone's talking about Julius Randle and whether or not the Knicks need him and will he be moved for a superstar. I've heard Donovan Mitchell, I've heard Durant, I've heard Booker, I've heard Mikal Bridges, Stephen A, and Udonis Haslem and whoever else was on First Take this morning. They all said that they would trade him for Kevin Durant if they could. And I've seen some different things also where it comes to, well, OG is the priority and they will move Randle to make it more, make them more flexible for OG. There's also the Hartenstein contract rumors. What do you think about all this, big guy? How are we feeling about the prospects of Julius getting moved for one of these other guys? And, you know, the idea that he is more so the priority or less so the priority as compared to OG.
I think I like Julius. I want him to stick around. I think we're a better team with him. I don't think any of the guys I don't think that Donovan Mitchell, instead of Julius, no. That doesn't make any sense. Backcourt's too small. Just no on so many levels. Kevin Durant, it's enticing, but I don't even know if I would want Kevin Durant playing like the 3 for us, not a 4 position. Now listen, Kevin Durant's a great player. So you'd have to consider it. But again, man, is he a Thibs guy? Is he going to come in? Is he going to buy in? Is he going to work? Is he going to do everything that Thibs demands of people? I don't know. And we know Julius will do all that and is committed to this team. And it seems clear to me that there's a love and there's a bond with these guys. I just was reading something where people were talking about, trade Bogey and a couple picks for Markkanen. And I'm like, what? No Lauri Markkanen for.
What's your beef with? You wouldn't take Lauri Markkanen over
like
Bogey right now?
No.
Way better. I've seen Markkanen for Julius talk.
That's what I'm talking about. I wouldn't do Markkanen for Julius.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Bogey. I'm sorry. You're saying Julius plus Bogey plus some picks. I got you.
Yeah. It was just too much. I think I want to keep Julius, but Nick, he's on a very enticing contract. It's an extremely tradable piece. I think a lot of people would want him, but I think that could be the kind of move that we could grow to regret with Julius. One thing I just saw, you saw that Ty Lue just got re-signed.
Yep.
$14 million per year.
Yep.
What are they going to offer Thibs? Does Thibs even make $7 million a year right now? I don't even think he makes half that much right now.
No, but I think Thibs would be happy with 10.
Right.
I just get that impression from him that he's the type of guy that says, listen, give me 10 over the next 4 and I'm good. And I just get that impression from him. And you know what? I wouldn't begrudge him if he came and he said, I want 13 and a half. I want something close to that. I mean, I guess Tyronn Lue has a ring, right? He got a ring with LeBron's, right? So he's got it. So he gets a little bit more. But I mean, if you look at recent track record, I think your guy Thibs is definitely, deserving of a contract, at least in the realm of Ty Lue. I know Ty Lue is really, really respected. And also some of that is them just wanting to make sure that him going to the Lakers wasn't going to happen. They wanted to make sure that was just totally off the table, especially with them opening up that new arena in, LA. So, but as far as Thibs is concerned, I think Thibs got to get at least 10. And, obvious. And I don't, from what we've seen when it comes to Dolan, he's not going to have any problem shelling out that money. He doesn't get, he's not okay. How much did he give Phil Jackson? Like 60 over 3 or something like that. Some crazy shit.
And Ty Lue, listen, let's just be honest here. Ty Lue is very well respected, heralded, all that, but I don't know. I don't see things coming out of the Clippers where I'm like, man, this guy's really got them playing great and he's doing a great job. I mean, he's got a lot of talent there. Mind you, Kawhi's always hurt. I get it. But they had two major stars there, and they couldn't get out of the first round.
Dad, I have always thought that I've never understood the Ty Lue hype. It's like, yo,
people love this guy.
Being such a great coach when you have LeBron, who's the ultimate coach on the floor, to me I don't give you a whole bunch of credit for having success with LeBron. And just overall, there's nothing about Ty Lue that's ever made me say, wow, this guy's such a great coach. He's clearly a player's coach. Coaches, guys that play for him really like him. They rave about him. And he's extremely well respected in NBA circles, but I don't see it, man. I do not see it. I think he's one bad blow up year away from being Monty Williams, in my opinion.
Right.
Another guy who a few years ago everybody was saying, oh, what a great coach he was, and blah blah blah. Listen, I just don't think he's that nice. I don't see it. As
we've said in many other instances, certain things are said by enough people, and it just becomes part of the overall belief without any actual basis. And I'm thinking this is going that way, but, who knows? Listen, I read something the other day where they said they might get rid of Monty Williams. Some people are saying that they might cut him.
They owe him too much money, right?
They owe him another $60 million. That's what I'm saying. That's insane. But I read, look, they got a new head of basketball operations in Detroit. Okay. And the word is that they said to this guy, if you're really unhappy, we will move on from Monty and get somebody else. These owners must take insurance on those contracts. They must. Because they're so willing to get rid of coaches while owing them stupid amounts of money.
Listen, I think that if you're a billionaire and this is your pet project, you know what I mean? If it's not like, if you're not the Lakers and it's like your main source of income, it's just some, we just can't even, the numbers it doesn't compute to us. It just doesn't. Right. We can't even understand it. But I want to go back to Julius real quick. And I want to ask you, what do you think about the reports that OG is the priority over Julius? Now, there's one guy who said that, and his bona fides are not that great. I'm not even going to mention his name because there's a whole lot of other people who have said the contrary. But what do you think of even that being the case when it comes to how the Knicks feel?
But I don't even know how that's an issue because Julius, you don't have to re-sign Julius or anything this summer. So signing OG has nothing to do with signing Julius. Unless
it's about flexibility. It's about flexibility. It's about the fact that if you get rid of Julius, if you give iHeart, the 4-year, $76 million deal that I'm hearing they're going to put on the table for him, that you look at it now going into next year and you can't trade Julius because people know he's coming off the books. He's just going to be a rental. You're not even going to get him for that extra season. And you're not going to be able to re-sign him what he's going to be, what he's going to garner if he continues to have, the type of seasons he's had recently. I've also seen that with the bird rights and whatever, we would have to pay a shit ton of luxury tax, but we can still make all that work if need be. But let me ask you this. If you had to make one guy a priority, if you had to have one guy for the next 5 years, would you rather have Julius or OG?
That's tough because OG gets injured. No, because OG gets injured. That's why I would say Julius. That's why I'm staying with Julius. Well, you're prioritizing OG?
No, the Julius slander. First of all, I'm very surprised at your Durant take. I'm very surprised that you're not like, no, keep Durant away. Absolutely.
Yeah, I told you I don't really want Durant. And
you kind of soft served it though. You were kind of like, but Durant. If you get Durant, forget all he's a cancer. The guy's a cancer at this point. Everywhere he goes, he brings doom and despair, except for when he went to the best team of all time. Other than that, all he does is take L's. I love Durant's game. I think he's the greatest scorer, pure scorer that I have ever seen. But to bring his personality into this team when we got everything moving in the right way, and we've seen how he's torpedoed some of these other young teams that seemed like they had the exact same thing recently, absolutely not. No way. The Knicks are cool. You're not cool. Whatever you want. I just stay over there. I do not want him and his ashy ass ankles on the Knicks. No way, no how.
I agree with you for the most part there. I do think he's a talent, but like I said, I wouldn't want to get rid of him. I wouldn't want to bring him in if I'm getting rid of Julius. The issues you're saying with the atmosphere and the culture, that's a real concern. I don't know that he is the reason behind the demise of Brooklyn and what we saw in Phoenix this year. He just happened to be there in both situations. So what do we call a common denominator, right? But He's I mean, listen, he's a talent. If he could be on a team and be our starting 2 guard or 3, then I would think that's interesting. Now, the whole thing with OG, I don't know, man. It's tough to give OG, just a shit ton of money. And, I mean, if OG's demanding like top dollar, like $40 million a year is
That's
what
what
I'm reading people are saying,
yeah.
and he's going to be the highest paid player on the team, I don't think that works too much, that he's the highest paid player on the team. He shouldn't be.
I totally agree.
But what do? Are you ready to get rid of OG right now? After you just traded assets for him?
Right. You traded those assets for him. You traded, mainly quickly for him, or at least RJ, who we could have got something more back for. And so, yeah, giving him up, that would be really tough. And when he plays, we know how immensely valuable he is and what a fantastic fit. We've talked about that plenty. But that the guy, I don't understand. Like 40 mil, I've seen 4 for 156. So that's what, like 38?
That's 40 million.
Right. So yeah, so I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna need you to okay. So what is so Brunson is gonna take so much less than this guy? Nah, man. Availability has to be a factor in this, and also a factor in this has to be the fact that your agent is the president's son. Can we work this out a little bit somehow, some way? And that's also when I see things about like how the Knicks aren't shoe-ins and, he might end up in Philly and different things like that. First of all, I would prioritize Julius over him. Absolutely, positively. Factor in the availability, factor in the ball player, in my opinion. I think OG's a really good player. I think that OG brings us a lot. Okay. But he's extremely limited offensively. And he has times, even within these playoffs, where, he's kind of invisible. He was starting to come back on right before he popped the hammy and really show what he could be, obviously. But I don't know, man. I don't see him as being a more valuable player than Julius Randle overall. I think it's much easier to find another OG than it is to find another Julius Randle. Okay. And I love OG's game. And I realize, and I don't want it to sound like I'm discounting how important he can be and how impactful he can be, because he can be so impactful. I mean, I think he's the best defender in the league, arguably, and offensively, he's a perfect fit for our team. But, you could get a guy like a Kelly Oubre who is going to be 75% of OG. Who's the guy who's 75% of Julius that we're just going to go out there and find on trees? I don't see him out there.
No. And Kelly Oubre will be 75% of OG and be less than half the money.
Less than half the money and play 30% more games.
At least. I don't see having OG be the highest paid player on the team, but I'm starting to feel like from everything I read and everything I look at that's almost an inevitability right now. He's going to get 35 mil a year. Man.
Yeah.
And who is the highest paid player on the team right now? Brunson at like 27?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Now, Brunson can sign this extension or whatnot. That'll boost him. I don't know what his annual will be like if Brunson gets boosted up. Like, what are they talking? It's 4 years, 156, or no, something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I'm pretty sure that he and OG are eligible for the same contract.
Yeah, listen. I'll be honest with you. I have a tough time giving OG a bigger contract than Julius on the team. I have a tough time with any of that. I also think, like you said, OG's got to realize that his agent is the son of the president, so they need to figure it out. Also, man, I just think OG, dude, you are a perfect fit on this team. I don't think OG's been as perfect a fit on any other team. You know what I'm saying? This is the perfect team for you, OG. You want to walk away from this, fine. But I think if I'm an OG guy, I say, dude, man, you got to figure it out. You got to stay there. That team is perfect for you.
And obviously we feel that way, but we've seen it a million times when guys go and they get a big deal somewhere, and now all of a sudden a lot more is asked of them. And OG's not that guy that all of a sudden you want to start giving him a whole bunch of touches. You know what I mean? Like,
give OG the ball and clear out.
Nah, man. Nah, he's not that dude. So yeah, I think he's a prime example of a guy who, he has all of these measurables that you just fall in love with, and these percentages that the analytics fall in love with. But when you really watch him on a consistent basis, and unfortunately you can't watch him on that consistent of a basis unless, you spend some of that time looking at him in sweats, he's just not the dude, man. I don't understand this whole, OG, can you take 30 mil a year? Can you take 30? Like, you know, can you? I know. Listen, I know. It's crazy when we're talking about tens of $1 million. When a guy can get 38, but he gets 30. Hey, get your money. I get that. I'm not begrudging you that. But depending on where you go, the appeal of the making more money because you know are in New York, that's still a real thing. Okay, you're still going to make more money because you're in New York. You see how we treat our former Knicks, and you see where this team is and what they can do. For him, if he was like, if the Knicks said, hey, we'll give you 30, and Philly said, yo, we'll give you 38, and he decided he wanted to go to Philly because of that extra 8 per year, see you. That says enough to me. That says enough to me that all right, if that's the type of that's where your head's at, then we need to move on from you. And I really listen, I would love nothing more than just to see this team at full strength next year. But at the end of the day, I'm not just giving the whole bag to this guy, and especially not at the detriment or the potential loss of Julius.
I'm with you 1,000%. I mean, no, OG is a very good player, but like we said, there are other people who can be like 75% of him, and I wouldn't break the bank and upset the apple cart. I think that we have a really good thing going right now. I don't want to ruin it. And you know what? If we come back next year and it doesn't all, the only way I think if we come back next year and don't go further than we did this year, and potentially much further, is with injury.
Sure.
Of course. But short of that, I think we will do very well next year. And I think, I just don't see, just making moves just to make moves, because that's where you get messed up. And frankly, that's one of the great things that Leon Rose has brought to this organization is the sober mentality of, growing this organization.
Exactly. What you got a new shirt? What is the shirt you got on? I haven't seen the shirt.
Madison
before.
Square Garden, that way, baby. It's the it's like the subway.
Oh.
The subway. Unfortunately, I ordered it, and some of these online outfits take so long. I was hoping to get it before the Knicks season ended, but I did not.
Sounds like you didn't get that from such a reputable website.
Who knows where you're getting it from? But it said Madison Square Garden, so I took a shot. It actually came, so I'm happy about that.
Yes, it's a good shirt. I like it. Before we get to the Mets, because that's a little bit sobering of a subject. One more thing about the Knicks. iHart, 4 years, 86. Or whatever it is. I'm sorry. What is it? Yes, 4 years, 68. 4 years, 68. 4 years, 68 is what I saw. 4 years, 72. Okay, 4 years, just around 20.
70. Right.
You feel good about that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Because what? He's worth it. He's worth that money. Yeah, 18 million, 18 to 20. Yeah, let's go. He's good. And some people I've read say that they don't think he's so great, and maybe we should go for somebody else. And
they're idiots.
Don't
watch the games. Don't watch the games if you feel that.
No, but you got to hear this. I read where one guy says the Knicks have a chance, and there's a prediction that the Knicks will draft Zach Edey, big kid from Iowa. I'm like, why would you do that?
That he is the
why would you do that?
He is the least.
He can't. He's not fast enough.
NBA translatable prospect I've ever seen. Can you imagine if that cat was playing against like a Miles Turner? What Miles Turner would do to him?
He would abuse him.
He would abuse.
Listen to me. Embiid would run past him up and down the floor.
Right. Embiid would abuse him. It would abuse him just on foot speed alone, and just quickness. I mean, Embiid would have him in foul trouble immediately. Oh, come on, man! Listen. First of all, that's not the way the NBA is going. We literally already have two of the more traditional centers in the league right now. I don't see why we would do that. One thing I will say, I would like to see iHart start shooting some more threes like he did when we first got him. He shot threes at a decent clip when he was over in Los Angeles, and he shot them, a decent amount when he first came to us. And I just think that as a team, I don't want you hunting them all the time, but I want you as a guy, I want him shooting him as much as like Precious is willing to. You know what I mean? Precious will throw one up every once in a while, and he's a better shooter than Precious is. Yeah. He's a better shooter than Precious. That's my point. But I want him just as far as, when you're on the floor, because if there's anything that I think that the Knicks could use a little bit, like if we move away from Mitch, whoever else we bring in, I hope he's more of a traditional like stretch five. I hope he's a guy who can shoot a little bit more. And so, Hartenstein clearly has the ability to improve himself, and he has, I hope he's earned the trust of the organization, and he clearly was willing to do it at one time. He's got decent form. This summer, I need you putting up 500 threes from the corners a game so that when we do run certain lineups and you're not out at the, elbow extended and making those great pocket passes, that if you go out there in that corner, that guy has to respect you. And also, if that guy has to respect you and is closer to you, that's going to just give you more opportunity to get offensive rebounds because you're not going to have that guy closer to the basket waiting to box you out.
Yeah, no, I see that. And I don't think there's any doubt that that what's his name? iHart is practicing his threes this summer. I don't think there's any doubt about it, Nick. I mean, it's clear if you're watching these playoffs as they are right now in the conference finals and stuff, you're seeing some of these big men shooting out there and what a difference it makes for these teams. Yeah, it could definitely help us if he could, grow in that area just at least a little bit.
Give me 35%, man. If you can give me 33%, give me 33%. And, I'm happy with that. Make it so that one guy has to think a second before he tries to, close out on Julius or close out on Brunson. And, I just think it opens up everything, and I know he can do it.
No doubt. I agree.
If you're feeling the content or you think we are two loathsome, offensive brutes, and yet you can't look away, give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Make sure you subscribe and or hit that notification button on YouTube or wherever you're listening. All right. New York Metropolitans, 22-33. Losers of 8 of their last 9. Today they lost 10-3 to the Dodgers. Diaz just went on the IL with some sort of shoulder impingement. And absolutely no one on the team can hit.
No one.
Talk to me, big guy. How you feel about the Mets?
Well, I was talking to a good friend today who's also a huge Met fan, Joe Matura, and he made a good point. He said maybe our boy Splenda is more Splenda than he is Sugar because he had that one great season with us, Nick. The season before that, not so good. We weren't happy. People were screaming, Kalenic, how do we get rid of this guy Kalenic over him? And then the season after that, he gets hurt. And now he's in the tank again. So I don't know, Nick. It's always a crapshoot with these relievers and whatnot. And as far as the batting, and Pete got hurt today. Pete left the game injured because he got hit by a pitch. He got hit in the right hand by a pitch.
I'm sure his hand's broken. I mean, I'm just sure.
Right. It's a given. But the thing is that, I mean, honestly now, man, I mean, we both stated here how much we love Pete and all that. We want to keep Pete. But if you're David Stearns, it's team malpractice just to offer this guy whatever he wants. I mean, I'm sorry, man, but you can hit 40 home runs. But if you're only batting less than 220 or 240, I mean, what am I doing? I don't know. They're going to have to bring up the kid Acuna. Okay, they're going to have to bring him out soon. I don't know what's happening with your man Squirrel. He's going to have to go forwards for nuts, okay, somewhere. But sorry, you got to get that kid in the lineup, man, because they say he's ripping it up down in what, AAA or AA?
Yeah.
Whatever he's in. But listen, you got to get him up here. They say he's a decent fielder. And my boy Lindor, Frankie, I mean, come on, man. Come on. Baseball, when the rest of the team sucks, and even, wait a minute. I thought I read right now that J.D. Martinez is batting 270. Now he's falling out of bed.
Yeah, 271.
Come on, man. I don't know what's happening right now, Nick. I don't know what's happening. I honestly will say this to all my fellow Met fans out there, and I'm just being honest. I haven't fully invested with watching games yet this year because usually, after the basketball season's winding down, I'm fully invested. I'm watching a lot of games. Me and your mom sitting watching a lot of games together. When I see them shitting a bed like this regularly, man, it's a really tough struggle for me to sit down and invest 3 hours in an evening, and they're going to do some stupid shit, and I'm going to be disgusted after the game when I could have been sitting watching some, something funny on TV or, something else. It's tough, man. It's tough to get back in that Mets mindset. I'll wear the hat, and I'll watch some of the games. I just don't know that I'll watch every game while they're doing this. And I feel bad saying that, but it's tough.
Yeah, so today's game, I was in commute for a lot of it. I saw the beginning of it. On Sunday, the game against the Dodgers, they're up 2-1 going into the ninth, and then I watched them throw that away. So then I was, I was like, man, this second game, I'm not sorry, I said Sunday, on Tuesday, because we had the rain out on Monday, so this was the doubleheader yesterday, and it's like, yo, I see that second game, and I'm like, all right, I forget, I had something else going on, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep an eye on this, and then that gets away from us, and then we lose 10-3. It's just, like you said, it's hard to tune in every single day because, in the summertime in baseball, it's every day. And when you know every single day that your team is going to be putrid at the plate, and the days even where they do end up scoring 7 runs, they give up 9, and how many times we just totally, shit the bed at the end of games, it's really, really, really tough to stick through that for an entire season. And, I've been through those types of seasons with all of my teams, whether it be the Jets, whether it be those 17-win Knicks teams with Fizdale, and I still do watch the majority of games, and I still will watch the majority of the games when it comes to the Mets. But, they are not giving us a lot to be excited about this year. For just, some context, Acuna, he's hitting 259. He's got 308 on base percentage, slugging 371, OPS 679. He's not ripping
Not doing that well. No, he's not.
He's not ripping it up down there. I think a lot of people are just calling for him just because they're frustrated and they want to see something. And like you said, your boy Squirrel, I mean, that guy, it's just,
unbelievable.
It's really, really crazy just how much he has fallen off. And Pete, like you said, Pete, we can't invest crazy money in a guy who's hitting 231. Okay.
No.
And it's, he's got 12 home runs. He's got 26 RBI, which are both good numbers, but they're not like, oh my God, like he
usually does.
This is what I'm saying, man. I mean, 12, we're about a third through the season. So, 36 for Pete is okay. But that's a down year for Pete. Pete is a guy where you're like, you feel like absolutely positively he can get to 40 every single year. And I mean, the RBI totals can't be high when you have no one around you hitting, and specifically Francisco Lindor. The other thing that's going against Pete is we can't have 2 of these contracts on our books. You know what I mean? Right. You get to a point where it's like, okay, we already have this albatross, possibly the worst contract in baseball. Lindor, I've tried for a long time to be like, hey man, he's a really good fielder, and he's got a great attitude, he's got a great smile. Man, fuck all that, yo. Dog, you're hitting 211. You are just did you see the at-bat, Dad, where he just looked at strike 3, where it was a strike 3 curveball? He looked at it like he was trying to take it. Yeah, and then he said afterwards some shit about how he wasn't seeing it well, so he was just hoping at that point that it would be a ball. What is that? You're a major league ball player, the guy who won the Silver Slugger at your position last year, a guy who's supposed to be, this great 5-tool player who we gave $300+ million to. And you couldn't pick up the ball, so we get to 3-2, and you're just taking the third strike, a curveball right down the middle, boom, and just walking away. I mean, Dad, I've never seen anything like that on a third strike, and it was extremely embarrassing. He should be embarrassed. I was actually surprised it didn't get more play like in the net. He's lucky it's where we're at in the baseball season, where if this is a month from now and basketball's done, yeah, that gets played on a few more, reels. That gets played on a few more highlights. It's crazy, man. And the Mets are just an absolute disaster. The Yankees are over across town ripping it up, and you got the Phillies ripping it up. Braves still being the Braves, no matter who they get injured or what happens with them. And yet we cannot put together what looks like a major league effort on a daily basis. And the starting pitching, which everybody thought was going to be, the Achilles heel of the Mets this year, has actually been pretty good. It's been the hitting, and it's been also the relief pitching that's been absolute trash. And, David Stearns is coming out saying, he still thinks we could make a run, but also, he's prepared to be the bad guy at the trade deadline if need be. Those times are coming sooner rather than later. I've lost hope. I don't see it. I don't see what we're doing. Mendoza, let's see how he's able to maintain that upbeat attitude throughout 162 games of this bullshit team. And it's just, it's an unfortunate situation. We knew that, this was not going to be the year that we were going to come out here and, win a World Series. And, in baseball, as we know, hot month, anything could happen, but I have zero faith. And, it's going to be a really, really important trade deadline and offseason to see what direction we go in from this, because right now we're going nowhere fast.
Yeah, it's very distressing, and it's going to be a bumpy ride from here on out. Like you said, Stearns is going to have some tough decisions to make, and if we keep going this way, he will no doubt be the bad guy at the trade deadline because they'll trade Pete. Because somebody will want to give up something good for Pete for that stretch run. They need some power in their lineup or something. They need some pop. They're going to trade Pete, and guess what? Pete's going to get traded, and he's going to go somewhere and he's going to rip it up. Okay, because I'm telling you now, with the Mets, I don't understand how if everyone on the team is hitting this badly. I mean, listen, I blame the individuals, but there's something going wrong in the way we're coaching.
We have two hitting coaches. Two.
Well, the both of them need to go. Okay? Somebody's not figuring it out right. I don't know. Where's Barry Bonds? Get Barry Bonds in here as a hitting coach. Get somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing. Because clearly right now, nobody knows what they're doing. That guy we spoke about, Eric Chavez from a few years ago, is he busy?
No, he's one of our hitting coaches right now.
The guy from a couple of years ago who was
Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes are our two hitting coaches.
Well, there you go. I don't know what's wrong, man. I don't know. We need Sage. Got to bring Sage into the locker room and wave around the Sage. Get all the spirits out.
They got to do something, man. They need go up to Washington Heights and get a lady with, a statue with a cigar in the mouth or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Something, man. We got to do. It's sad, man. It really is a sad state of affairs that we got going right now with our Mets, and it's going to be a long, brutal summer. And that's the thing. Now that the Knicks are done, it's just like, Knicks off season, a little bit of Jets off season, but most of my sports focus is going to be on the Mets, and it's going to be a long, tough one.
Yeah, it would seem so. You got to get your mind right to handle that because it's going to be a tough one.
You seen any of these quotes that have been getting thrown out there about your guy Malachi Corley about Rodgers saying how much he was his favorite player in the draft, pre-draft, and then Garrett Wilson had some things to say about him as well.
I didn't see what Garrett Wilson said, but everything I've read about the Yak King, love it. Gotta love the Yak King. Love the Yak King even more than I love Tulsa King. So gotta go with the Yak man.
Tulsa King is a good show, though. I gotta say it's a good show. I was a little bit skeptical when you told me. I'm like, do we really need more Stallone in Tulsa as a former mob guy? It's a good show.
Gotta love it. No, I listen. I'm pumped up about this Yak King guy, and I like the things that the Jets have done, obviously. So let's go, man. Frankly, that season cannot start soon enough. 99 days.
99 days. Yes, I did read. I read yesterday that it was 100. So, 99 days until the Jets start, and we're definitely looking forward to that. Any thoughts on the Pacers getting bounced in 4?
I mean, look, they put up a good effort. Unfortunately, Halliburton got hurt. I do think, and you know me, Nick, I'm big on winning and losing with the same aplomb, same class. I see a lot of people online trying to razz the Pacers and Pacers fans, blah, blah, blah. Oh, y'all lost, blah, blah. I think that's weak sauce, me personally. They beat us. We didn't beat them. Yeah, we were injured, but who cares? We lost to them. And I'm not saying I don't take happiness in seeing the Pacers lose. One, because I have some friends who are Pacers fans, but two, it's just not who I am. I'm not anti the Pacers. Like I was more anti-Philly, frankly, because I didn't like the way they played, and I didn't like the way Embiid played, especially being dirty. Indiana beat us, and listen, they beat us. They won the war of attrition with us. I think if our main problem was not winning it sooner. I think the longer that series went, it skewed more and more to them because they just had so many bodies to keep coming at us, and we were withering on the vine, as we know, with Hart and with Brunson and so forth. So I mean, look, I thought they were going to lose in 5 or 6 anyway. After seeing that series, I don't think I would have been surprised if it went more than 5, and then without Halliburton. But to be honest, those last couple of games, listen, man, this guy T.J. McConnell, man. I mean, he messed some bad shots down the stretch, or he made some stupid turnovers down the stretch. But in a backup point guard role, I love that guy.
Nemhard was good too, man. Nemhard was balling in some of these games.
Yes, he was very good. Even the other guy, I forget his name, taller, slim guy.
Naismith.
They're like Naismith. He played pretty well too. But Nemhard, I was like, wait a minute, this guy's not bad, man. He's pretty good. I was really surprised with that. The coach, he made some questionable moves, but he did okay. I mean, I thought he did some questionable moves in that last game, and some of the people that he left on the bench or whatever. But I think they were worse without Halliburton. But that first game when Halliburton just basically with the ball on the sideline with nobody touching him, I'm like, what is going on? Maybe he was missing the Peabody glasses.
So listen, I always like to see the Pacers lose. There's only a few like franchises I feel that way about: the Pacers, the Heat. I just don't like them. I always want to see them lose. And as a Knicks fan, I think I'm justified in that with all my years watching the Knicks. And when it comes to, so like I had a lot of Pacers people in my mentions, just reading their comments online where they were very, whenever the Knicks said, whenever anybody from the Knicks talked about injuries, or whenever anybody who covers the NBA talked about the fact that, they had no Giannis, Dame down for a few games, and then obviously played the injured Knicks, that they were all coming with excuses. And so now when they talk Halliburton, many people are coming back at them with, whoa, what happened to excuses? You guys lost one player. These other teams lost at least 2 of their 3 best players, if not 4, if not 5. Right. So I do agree with that take, and with the fact that, if you're going to say that there's no excuses for us, then there's no excuses for you. I still think that they had one of the luckiest runs to the Eastern Conference Finals that I've ever seen, as far as just the injuries that they dealt with, that the teams that they were playing against were dealing with. And I think Boston has now got the flip side of it, because they played Miami when they had no Butler and no Scary Terry. And then now they got them without Halliburton. So Boston has benefited from that as well. And I think that sometimes in sports, that's just the way it goes. But, if you're going to call it that way for one situation, then let's call it that way for all of the situations, or both of the situations. That's my only thing. And I did want to see them lose. I don't like them. I don't like, I just don't like anything about him. And I don't like that guy Halliburton. I don't like his game. I don't like his pregame outfits. And I think it's really soft. And I thought it was Bush League. Not Bush League. That's a bit much. But I don't know. I just think it's kind of some bitch shit to do that whole thing where, after the game, now you put on the Reggie Miller choke shirt. You didn't wear it to the game. You put it on after the game once you guys won, when they beat the Knicks in Game 7. So I think that I don't really like that. If he was my own player, I would say, I would have liked it if he'd wore it to the game as opposed to throwing it on afterwards, because he wouldn't have thrown it on afterwards had they lost.
Of course not. Definitely not. And you're right. Maybe you wear something like that before the game, but maybe you just don't wear it at all.
That would be fine with me.
That's the,
Brunson would never do no shit like that.
No,
it's just not how he's built. Right.
It's not good sportsmanship. And again, man, I don't ever see a good reason to denigrate your opponent. And to try to make people feel down and try to step on somebody badly once you've beaten them. I understand stepping on them when you're on the court, but once you've beaten somebody and you've won, why do you want to denigrate your opponent? You will inevitably be on that side if you continue to compete. So is this how you want to be treated? I think it's poor sportsmanship.
Yeah, poor form.
Absolutely.
Once again, if you're feeling the content, or you think we are two loathsome, offensive brutes, and yet you can't look away, give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Make sure you subscribe and/or hit that notification button on YouTube or wherever you're listening. So if you could start your NBA team with one NBA player right now, and I'm not talking about like for one game or for next season, I'm talking about for the foreseeable future. So obviously age, injury history, all of that, culture and what kind of, guy he's going to be to lead a team. All of those things factor in. If you could start your team with one player, any player in the NBA right now, who would it be?
Jalen Brunson. No, I would consider Brunson. I'm serious. I would consider Brunson. I like Anthony Edwards, but you know what, Nick? I think a little bit of that is overblown. Slow down pump the brake on the Anthony Edwards thing. He played well last night, but people anointing him as the next face of the league. Slow down. I don't know that he's ready for all of that. I think it's just become such a hot take environment in all of sports that everybody's looking to say the hottest take thing and to be the first to say it. So there's a competition there. That's a very tough question, Nick. I'm not thinking like a Giannis anymore. I'm definitely not a Embiid. I want a guard. I want somebody who will handle the ball and dish and all that, and who can shoot. I don't know. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody great who you're going to bring up to me, and I know it's absolute Knicks bias, but right now I'm going Brunson, man. He's one of the top 5 players in the league right now. That's not outrageous to say. He was top 5 in the MVP voting.
Sure.
Right? I still love Jason up in
Jason Tatum.
Boston.
Jason Tatum.
Still love him. Jalen Brown's coming on too. Okay.
What did you think of the whole thing with him and Stephen A? And Stephen A saying, basically that his the air that he has about him of I'm better than everybody else is something that stops him from ascending more, both like as a personality and just the way he's perceived overall in the league.
I think that's ridiculous. How do you know that this guy? Well, he has an air about him that he's better than everyone else. Everyone could say that about Stephen A. Hello, I mean.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I haven't thought of that one, but yes, that is a good point.
Yeah, I mean, he comes off that way. But you know what, man? When you listen to Jalen Brown, why am I not remembering this kid's name? Jalen Brown, is that his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an extremely bright and civic-minded young man.
But he's not just a bright guy. He's a legitimate genius.
I know.
He's a legitimate genius.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he's civic-minded. He's not just some smart nerd. He gives a fuck about what's going on around him and the world around him and his community. And I love when I've heard that guy talk, I've been come away very impressed. So I'm not exactly sure why Stephen A is coming at him that way. He does seem a little surly at times, upset, that he doesn't get the correct recognition, but he's not an asshole about it. He said a couple things, but he's not like a jerk and like treating people nasty and stuff like that. Nothing like that. I don't have anything bad to say about the guy personally. Stephen A is okay with me. There have been times when I didn't like him as much, but I also realize he's a very polarizing guy. And at times I want to press mute when he's on the TV because he gets on my nerves sometimes.
Sure.
But sometimes I find him entertaining. But Jalen Brown, do your thing, brother. Do your thing.
Yeah, listen, one place that Jalen Brown is not being, disrespected or underwhelmed in any way is when it comes to the bank, because he's the highest paid player in the league. So, exactly. I've always thought that he was a dynamite player. I've always liked his game. And I think Stephen A, when Stephen A, this is when you're getting away from journalism. Okay. And now you're just being a talk show host. Okay, you're not being a journalist anymore, because this is not something where it's like, and I'm sure Stephen A has sources. I'm sure he's actually heard this from people. I'm sure all of that is true. But it's not like he's going in and interviewing 10 to 15 different people about him and coming together with this piece and talking about no, it's not all that. Now you're just like you're peddling in hearsay. And just take it for what it is. I think as a consumer, this is not, and I'm not saying Stephen A is not a journalist or was not definitely a bona fide journalist at some point, but currently when you're doing things and making takes like that, and you're talking about, a guy's personality as opposed to his game, and also a guy who has been on the same team his entire career, if he was that much of a malcontent and guys couldn't stand him, you don't think they would try to move him maybe, as opposed to making the highest paid player in the NBA. So yeah, I thought that was kind of weak by Stephen A. And, I think that's kind of, it's the summertime. These series are kind of boring at the time. They're both 3-0. What are we going to talk about? I think that some of that factors in. I was a little disappointed with Stephen A when it came to that. Now, getting back to the player that I would start my team with in the NBA, I think that this is a 3-person race. I think there's really 3 people that deserve to be in this conversation. I would not put Brunson there, and it's mostly about age. And he's a little bit older than some of these other guys that I'm going to talk about. And it's not that I don't think he can be a 1A, but your best player on your team only being 6 feet tall, as we saw even in the playoffs this year, there are times where we really needed a Julius. We needed a guy who was 6'8", 9", who could put the ball in the basket. So you need that other guy, when you want to go super deep in the playoffs. And Brunson can take you deep, and he can maybe even get you to the promised land. It's just a really, really tough, road to hoe. And so mostly, honestly, with Brunson, it's not even about that. It's not about his size. For me, more than anything else, it's about age. And when I look at the NBA today, I have Luka.
That's true. I should have said Luka.
I got Luka, then I got Ant Edwards, and then my third one is I got Wemby.
Right.
If you're talking about starting a team now,
it's got to be Wemby.
This is my thing. Is I think when we're taking in all of the different factors, I actually personally would take Anthony Edwards. And the reason that I would take Anthony Edwards is plays over 70 games every single year.
Yeah.
Offensive development every single year, just getting better and better. I mean, the kid is still 22 years old.
That's right.
And you got to look at what I look at him and I'm like, if he continues to improve, maybe not the leaps and bounds he has thus far, but if he just continues to get incrementally better when it comes to his jump shot, and that catch jump shot when he's 25, 26, what kind of player can he be? And he does it on both ends.
Yeah.
He makes an impact on the defensive end as well. Luka, he usually plays in that 60 game range. Okay. He's not going to give you that 70 game range. And we know that there's been times where he's missed time in the playoffs. That's where Brunson was able to show out that one year. And for me, I think that the most important thing is availability. And that's the other thing that makes me nervous with Wemby. And I know that this is just a prognosis because we've never seen it, but I've never seen a guy his size be consistently, especially his size and thin like that.
Yeah.
And be a focal point and be consistently healthy, playing 70 plus games on average throughout his career. Nah, man. Nah. I mean, you got to go back a long time to even see any big men. Like we're talking about going back to like Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, to see big men who are really good players who can, Olajuwon that consistently played. Shaq played a lot of games. He usually played a lot of games. But this guy, Wemby, he's just so slight that it's like every time he lands, I hope he proves me wrong. And he plays 80 games every year for the rest of his career and he becomes the greatest basketball player of all time. And you know what? If he can play the amount of games that you need to get you to the promised land, we never seen a prospect like him. And his ability to do all the things he can do offensively, when he gets to the point that his game is even a little bit more polished and he's more confident, he's truly going to be unguardable. He's going to be able to get his shot whenever he wants. This guy is doing sham gods and up and unders to catch with layups. I mean, it's crazy what he's doing. But then he also, his ability to impact the game on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. And, not just the block shots where he's getting 4 a game, but in addition to that, when that cat spreads his arms, I mean, he's guarding 4 or 5. We talk about OG guarding the entire side of the floor. What, can he guard 2/3 of the floor at one time? So I just think that, his overall game is the most dynamic thing that we have ever seen. I've just never seen a guy his size stay healthy. Give me one more. Give me next year and the year after that, and he's healthy both. And I think he's the runaway win. But I think right now it's Ant Edwards because not only does he have the game, but he's got the personality. He's got the personality that I want the leader of my team to have. And I think the best is obviously yet to come with him. Clearly right now they're down to 3-1. He did step up. Him and Cat did step up in game 4 to force a game 5 in that series. Still think Dallas is going to pull it out. I said Dallas in 7. I don't even think it's going to get to 7. But, Ant's also got the type of personality of a dude that I know nobody's ever come back from being down 3-0. But if there was a guy who, just has the moxie and it's just like, yo, man, fuck it, let's go. I think he's that guy. So, I'm not saying they're going to come back. I picked Dallas in the first place. But, if I had to go with one player in the NBA right now to lead my franchise for the foreseeable future, I would have to go Ant. Shout out to my man Brunson. We know how much I love him, but I would have to go with Anthony Edwards.
All right, yeah, I can't disagree with you, Dad. Anthony Edwards and then Wemby. Luka's great. A friggin' amazing offensive force. I don't like the fact that Luka argues so much. I think it's detrimental to him. Yeah. I don't like any of the players on my team doing that. Just
sure.
Nick, there was a play last night where he took a shot where the defense wasn't close to him. Could not have touched him. He missed the shot. He's running down the court, bitching to the ref. And it's like, dude, nobody came even close to you. Maybe he was talking about the previous play. Or maybe he was prepping him for the next play. I don't know. Just shut the fuck up sometimes. And he did it for a couple games, Nick. But then he's chirping again. And, Randle was getting too heavy with that about a year ago. He chilled that out. And I think it made a difference. He's better. And it makes your team better. I don't understand how these guys don't see that affects your whole team, man, where you're constantly just bitching to the ref. I don't think that's good for your team, Yeah. So I think he needs to figure that out, honestly.
I hear you on that. We also got news today that the MLB has integrated Negro League stats into baseball's official record books. Mm-hmm. Notably, Josh Gibson is now the leader, both in career and single season batting average, slugging percentage, and OPS. Mm-hmm. He's also top 5 in several other categories as well. I don't know. I don't think anybody could really, come out and be against this. But overall, what did you think about this move by the MLB and, what it means for the changing of the record books?
I think it's a good move by the MLB because, honestly, like you said, who's going to be upset about this? Anybody who's upset about it, why exactly are you upset about this now? And they won't honestly say why if they are truly upset about it. But, why not? Why not do it? It's a good thing. It's an excellent PR move. Again, like I'm saying, where's your downside? Somebody's going to be upset that Babe Ruth got usurped in his slugging percentage or his batting average numbers. Okay, come on. If that upsets you, I don't know what to tell you, guy. Go buy a kite, get out of here. Just move on. So I think that's a good thing. I actually listened to a very good interview with his great grandson who runs the Josh Gibson organization. His name is Sean Gibson. And, he had a lot of great things to say. Bright young man. Well, not young man. He's a grandfather like me. But, he sounded very pleased. I didn't know. He said this is something they announced they're going to do in 2020.
Yeah.
It took 4 years to figure this all out and get it all figured out, but they stuck to it and they did it. So I think that's very cool.
Yeah, I think overall it's a great move. I think especially with baseball really wanting to focus on getting more baseball into inner cities in the U.S., getting some more of that U.S. homegrown talent that's going to other sports. It's a no-brainer to have this integration and bring this type of, attention to the guys who played in the Negro Leagues and, the legacy that is Black baseball in this country and, highlighting the fact that we all got cheated by not seeing the best play the best, back in those early days of baseball. And what I think will be interesting is somebody's going to come out and say something anti this, and they're going to really expose themselves. And I hate to say it, but you know who my leader in the clubhouse is for a guy who's going to come out and say something against this? Whitlock. Whitlock will find a way to pander to his base and say some shit about how, why this is similar to us wanting to bring down like Confederate statues or some shit like that. And how we want to, erase the America's history and the history is the history. I'm telling you, Dad, he's going to say some stupid shit like that and expose himself. And anybody else who comes out and says some stupid shit like that is exposing themselves. I don't see how anybody could be against this. If anything, the current leaders that you have in the MLB, their numbers they're almost without there being any addition of the Negro League players, their numbers are less legit. That's the thing. When you talk about, the Babe Ruth numbers and all that, it's like, yeah, but he wasn't playing against any Latin or Black players. Like, right. What are we really talking about here? So, I think it's a great thing overall. And I'll be interested to see if anybody does come out and have anything to say against it.
That will be interesting to see. But, I mean, one thing I can tell you I definitely don't want to see is Whitlock exposing himself.
Catch us every week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. Please follow, like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification button on all platforms. Really appreciate all the love. You can find us on all socials at he_did this to me. Love you, big guy.
Love you, kid.